No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
It's the fall kickoff sale at Lithia Ford of Boise. We're going all the way so you can score more for your trade-in and trade up to a new Ford truck or SUV today. Visit Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing? Good morning, Bronco Nation. Welcome on into a live edition here at Bronco Nation News, BroncoNationNews.com. This is a ICCU Friday edition. We got our man Jay Tust, sports director at KTVB, joining us. We got Spencer Danielson, some news and notes, a lot of stuff that he hit on yesterday. I want to play a few clips from Spencer. We got a big basketball game tomorrow night in Logan to talk about, and appreciate, as always, Jay Tust making time on a Friday, an ICCU Friday with Jay Tust here. How we doing, Jay?
I'm good, bud. How are you doing today?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Friday, much better than yesterday. I've been a tough 36 hours, I guess, but I woke up today feeling a little better and moving forward and excited for the weekend. A big basketball game tomorrow. We had a lot of news and notes from Spencer Danielson, as I said yesterday. So it's always nice to have, when you know you have 45 minutes and you're trying to think of how you're going to fit everything in there. I'd rather have that problem than a day in June where we have nothing to talk about.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I said, Spencer had some other obligations he had to get to yesterday. We probably could have kept going there for a little while, but covered a lot. Guys leaving, guys staying. I should say guy leaving, but guys staying, NIL, his plans to, maybe have a more robust NIL budget, if you will, moving forward. Sire Gaines is back. We covered quite a bit yesterday.
Well, and there was so much to cover that the clip about all the money and all that I probably have to save for next week, because that was a good, if I'd say the first 10 minutes of the discussion or whatever was money and transfer portal and everything else and how to raise more money. And I don't know what he was talking about. I didn't send him anything about PayPal. I have no idea what that was about. He said somebody sent him something on PayPal. It may have been you, BJ. I was like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. But if it was a good idea, I guess I'll take credit for it. I guess I'll take credit for it if it was a good idea. But I don't even know how to use PayPal. So just to clear that up, it wasn't me.
I thought it was you sending him a PayPal request for your coverage this season.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Well, according to some of the haters, we're both already on the payroll. So that just comes straight from Jeremiah, I think. I don't think that we need to worry about Spencer paying us. But I don't even know how to use PayPal. Venmo, Zelly, PayPal. My wife handles all that stuff for me because I'm for someone that runs a business based on technology and social media and all that. I don't know. I'm pretty bad at it, to be honest. So
I'm not gonna lie, for the most part, it's the same in our household.
yeah. But he had a lot of good stuff to say, and we'll get to that in a second. I mentioned we're in the Western Collective studios here. Hit up Western Collective's brewery there in Garden City if you're trying to find one of their beverages. We mentioned the Horseshoe Collective. That's one way you can help, just a small way. Have some beverages from Western Collective, the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the Orange Chaos Seltzer, and a portion of each sale goes to benefit the Horseshoe Collective there. And I mentioned the brewery, but you can go to Extra Mile Arena and get it, or you can just go to your local retailers, grocery stores, and things, and buy that there. And our title sponsor is rowpaint.com, Andy Rowe and Company. Appreciate him for making this show possible. Rowpaint.com, all your painting needs. Hit up our title sponsor at rowpaint.com. All right. There's a lot of different ways we can go. I've got clips on Zack Hill, Chris Marshall, Sire Gaines, Amarian McCoy, Maddox Madsen. I've got a clip from Leon and Alvaro that we'll get to talking basketball. But what was the biggest takeaway for you from the 39-minute, 38-second press conference from Spencer Danielson yesterday, which I know KTVB aired it live. Folks can go back to the KTVB YouTube. We've got it uploaded now on the Bronco Nation News YouTube as well. Folks want to go back after the show and watch it in its entirety.
Yeah, honestly, it's probably the biggest thing is the thing that we already knew, and that was just getting Spencer Danielson's comments for the first time. The fact that they were able to retain everybody except for Prince Strawn. And he even said that, Prince wanted to be at Boise State, but there were some maybe other influences that pushed him in another direction. And so ultimately he entered the transfer portal, but he was the only starter or significant contributor to really do so. Outside of that, I think Dirk Cutter loaded us all up with more of the exact figures, if you will. So yeah, that when it comes to, I thought it's funny because now that we're outside of the season, you can be a little more transparent about injuries and stuff. And it's Sire Gaines was so close, and had Boise State been playing in the Orange Bowl last night, meaning had they beaten Penn State, then Sire Gaines would have been able to make it back this season in time to play. But you hear Spencer Danielson talk about that running back position. It's not. I feel like Sire Gaines is number one, but you even hear Spencer Danielson talk about it and how the nation's going to see a lot of Sire Gaines.
Yep.
It definitely seems like he's RB1 going into this thing, and the modern college football landscape kind of bit Boise State. It looks like yesterday when it comes to maybe some running back depth. So they have what they have going forward, I suppose.
Yeah, and that was an interesting one, that the Louisville running back commits to Boise State and then all of a sudden pulls his name out and is returning to Louisville. Boise State did. I thought something was up when they offered the Montana State running back. It's like, well, why are they going for a sixth one? Then you find out that the Louisville running back backed out. So look, they're still trying to find one more transfer running back. We'll get to Sire Gaines and that, and I have a quote there in a few minutes, but I want to start with Zack Hill. This was something I think, Jay, that the last couple of days we both had kind of heard was becoming more and more possible and likely. And I know the big thing was, and me and Johnny kind of talked about him yesterday, and then sure enough, 5 minutes after we get off the air, it becomes official. But the only real flag or downside or baggage, so to speak, I guess, is the NCAA sanctions. I mean, when he was here, it was 3 years of Brett Rippon and did some great things at the quarterback position. The offense did some great things, and certainly just on paper, the results speak for themselves, but was involved in some of the recruiting things down there in Arizona State. And who knows, the whole staff kind of got hit. So who really knows? It's not like, he was off going rogue doing all this stuff, but, he was kind of doing what the head coach and other coaches on staff were doing. And I'm not, trying to make excuses for him, but there's way worse recruiting violations and things in terms of paying players or doing all this stuff. I mean, having a couple of guys on visits that, during a dead period and things like that isn't exactly the worst thing in the world. And I think a lot of that was during COVID, related too. And they were trying to do some recruiting things that weren't allowed during COVID. But again, not making excuses for them, but in the college athletics world, what they got hit for really isn't that huge of a deal when it comes to recruiting stuff. But he will, not be able to go recruit for a couple years. And I get it. Dirk Cutter didn't go recruit this last year. So there's not a big difference. And they already do have a 2025 and 2026 quarterback in the fold, at least 2026 quarterback in the fold. And so all he can't do is go visit that kid and his family for a couple years. They can come to Boise. You can see him there. He can Zoom with him. He can talk to him on the phone. Like, they have a plan, according to Spencer Danielson, and I have the clip that I can play here. But first, just your thoughts on Zack Hill coming back and a guy that can focus on quarterbacks and focus on helping Maddox Madsen improve here, and a guy that knows the culture in Boise State and has proven it here already.
Yeah, I think this is a great hire, in all honesty. And could there have been a better hire? Yeah, if you have an unlimited, $20+ million assistant salary pool like Ohio State or Georgia have for their coaches. I mean, but with what Boise State can afford right now and what they can do, I think this is an awesome hire. I don't know how much more you could have asked for, to be honest with you. Zack Hill knows Boise. He understands the culture. He understands the program. He has previous ties with Spencer Danielson. The two were even in contact last year when the offensive coordinator position came open. I think this is an awesome hire. He's developed Brett Rippon. He was here during the 2019 season when, he had to get Hank Bachmeier, Chase Cord, and Jalen Henderson all ready to go that year. And that turned out to be a pretty good year. Despite starting 3 different quarterbacks, they still won 11 games that season. So, he's a guy that knows how to develop quarterbacks. He's worked with Jaden Daniels, who, eventually transferred and went on to win the Heisman. I think this is a great hire. You're not bringing in, a 32-year-old from the FC ranks that's never done it at the FBS level before. And not to say that couldn't have been an option or would have been a bad option, but if you can get a 45-year-old coach that has significant experience, not only coaching the quarterback position at the FBS level, but also being an offensive coordinator at Boise State and Arizona State, and recently in the NFL with the Seattle Seahawks as an offensive assistant. I mean, I think this is an awesome hire, and I think it really rounds out the offensive staff pretty nicely.
Let's hear Spencer Danielson talking about the addition of Zack Hill.
In regards to Zack, being around him for 3 years I was able to see firsthand, not only, and at that point he's the offensive coordinator, so being able to see him operate and lead an offense was awesome. Being able to see him be on the cutting edge, to very similar to our offense right now, right? Kind of in the bones of Boise State, seeing him to be on the cutting edge there, but seeing his development with Brett Rippon, with Jalen, with Hank, and I'm sure I'm probably missing one on the road, seeing them where they started and how they continue to grow and improve week to week, year to year, was really impressive for me to watch, and how he did it too. How he was able to walk the path these young men every day while still being the offensive coordinator. And so, and I've also, even prior to that point, that's my personal opinion, watching it with my own 2 eyes, Mike, but then making a lot of calls across the country on guys that have worked with him, from the Seahawks to Arizona State to even at Eastern Washington, some guys that he's been around. He's got a really good reputation even outside these walls and being one of the best quarterback developers in the nation. So seeing it with my own 2 eyes, Mike, and then people's opinion that I trust that have been around him even when I wasn't, I really do believe it's a slam dunk hire. In regards to some of the recruiting things that came up when he was at Arizona State, worked through a lot of those even when I called him in February, kind of picking his brain about the offensive coordinator job. So it's something that we have a plan for. Not going to speak about it yet, but we have a plan for in regards to what that's going to look like going forward, with him being able to, starting the summertime, recruit on campus, with now the rule of being able to have 10 coaches on the road. You can pick on who those are, the accountable coaches. And that's something I'll be open about when we get to the summertime. But I had a plan back in February if we went that way. And we have a plan now that I know will keep us on the cutting edge recruiting-wise.
Hey, BJ.
Yep.
You're muted.
Yep, I was muted. Enjoy it, Jay. Enjoy it. Let me have it.
I'm just gonna soak this one in. What do you got? What do you have to say now that you're unmuted?
Oh, and the chats are loving. The chat folks are loving it too. Yeah. Thanks, Don. Not much. Maybe I'll go mute myself and let you just talk the rest of the time. Yeah. I think it's a good hire, and I think he's a guy that fits the personality of this coaching staff. Again, was here for 4 years, And he did hold this exact position for 6 years at Eastern Washington, quarterbacks coach, passing game coordinator. So I know it's a little weird. You're the OC, you come back in a bigger role, you come back as a smaller role. I get it, but sometimes you got to take the job you can get, and you got to humble yourself a little bit. And obviously, he was coaching high schools, and was with the Seahawks, but was kind of in a behind the scenes type role. It wasn't like he was the quarterbacks coach for the Seahawks by any means, but his relationship with Scott Huff and some of the people there helped him get a spot there. But I think it, like you said, to get a guy that is overqualified, so to speak, to come back and be willing to do this, and who knows in the future if what's going to happen, but right now, quarterbacks coach, somebody you need, he fits what they need, and he was available and they got him, and I think it's a nice fit.
We mentioned what he's done at the FBS level, but even you go back to his FCS days, he coached up their version of the Heisman on 2 different occasions, in Matt Nichols and Vernon Adams. Those guys were really good quarterbacks at Eastern Washington, and Vernon even transferred over to Oregon to cap his career back in the days when you can only do that as a grad transfer. So really everywhere he's gone, he's had, some really, really successful quarterbacks. And Brett Rippon, a 3-time All Mountain West first teamer. And I think, as we push this thing forward in Maddox Matson's development, yes, Ashton Genty really helped this team this year, and probably to an unmeasurable level, to be honest. But, now there is going to be more on Maddox's plate. But talking with Dirk, I think he's going to grow into that role and thrive and be just fine. He's going to be able to handle it. Now he's going to have a guy that really knows how to develop quarterbacks at his side. And, I was thinking it is a little unconventional, it would seem, to have your tight ends coach be your offensive coordinator. But, as Spencer Danielson kind of experiments with, new positions and new things, and he does not make any decision just on a whim, man. I mean, he's talking with some very bright minds that have done it at a very high level, whether it be Dirk Cutter or Chris Peterson, and he has great mentors in this thing. And as you kind of think about it, I wonder if he could be, I don't say on the cutting edge, but doing something differently here. I mean, if you're not the offensive coordinator and you're solely the quarterback's coach, yes, you have to have a relationship that's very fluid with the offensive coordinator, but imagine how much more time, if you're not worried about some of the stuff that goes into being the OC, that now you can just solely devote to developing the quarterback position. I don't know, maybe there's something there to be said, because there's a lot, you have to do to develop quarterbacks. And let's face it, there's a lot of important players on the field and some really, really talented guys at Boise State, but the quarterback and his coach are the lifeblood of a program. If you get that wrong, there's a chance you're just not going to be a good football team. And I feel better about this than that. I think it's a good hire. I think that there's a chance that Zach gets here and really starts to develop some QBs.
Speaking of quarterback, Spencer Danielson, I think you asked the question about Maddox Madsen and what this means for the position moving forward there. Max Cutforth, we find out, is going to be put on scholarship. Let's hear from Spencer Danielson talking about that quarterback room.
See Maddox first and foremost, think the absolute world of Maddox Madsen. How he played this year, how he led our team, an absolute relentless competitor. And he is going to take another big step this year. And Maddox Madsen's best football is in front of him. I really do believe he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Period, point blank. Being able to have Zack Hill here as well, to be able to continue to push his game forward, because I know he will. I mean, Zack Hill is a quarterback developer, and a guy like Maddox Madsen, who thrives on coaching, who thrives on being held to high standards. Maddox's best football is in front of him. In regards to the rest of the room, Max Cutforth is going to be put on scholarship starting this semester. He's earned it. I believe in him, and I actually had that conversation with him 2 hours earlier today. And then Caleb Annette's a young freshman that was on scout team this year that we think the absolute world of. And then going forward, there's a couple other things. Zeke Martinez is a guy that's going to be coming here as a walk-on, starting here in a couple days. So excited to get him here on campus. And then we're going to go out on the road and recruit and see what the 25 situation is. Our goal right now is to go find a 25 quarterback or someone from the transfer portal that fits what we're looking for. Does that make sense? And that's going to be kind of our push going forward.
Do you feel good, I guess, with Max as that number 2, or do you need a guy that can come in and push Maddox and really compete there?
I feel really good about Max Cuthworth. Now, am I telling you right now, BJ, that he's going to be our number 2 start the season? Absolutely not. I didn't tell him that either. I said, you got to compete. I know Caleb Burnett's going to want to be the number 2. And hopefully both those guys at some point want to start here. And so that's my message to all of them. So I believe in our quarterbacks we have currently here in this building, but we are going to continue to go out and find the best fit that fits here. The reality of the quarterback recruiting space is if you are going to go out and try and find the right fit in the transfer portal or junior colleges, those young men are going to want to come in a situation where there's not a returning starter. Majority of those players, right? So when you have a returning starter that's had the success that Maddox has had, it's hard to find the right guys that want to come in and compete and add value in that room, which is fine because I'm very open about where it is and who we have in this room. So that's where, as we go through January, we're going to look to see the absolute best 25 freshmen that we can sign in February and/or a junior college transfer portal player that fits this place and knows what it is. So much of it for the quarterback is going to be the fit and do they want to be here and compete. And that's where I've got a bunch of names that me and the offensive staff have worked through, and we're going to walk that path in January.
And I was saying that with Johnny yesterday, Jay, or maybe it was Prater on Monday. Like, they are going to have a tough time. The quality of quarterback they're going to be able to bring in when you have a quarterback that's a returning starter that took his team to the college football playoff. Like, I know, I mean, you're not going to get a guy that's got proven experience somewhere else, or a guy that wants to play isn't going to come here. And so I think junior college is actually a smart, that's what I said on the show one of the last couple of days. Junior college made some sense just because a Jalen Henderson type that maybe just is looking for a scholarship, looking for an opportunity to prove himself. And I'm not going to say it's okay being the backup, but it knows the situation he's coming into. And so I just think if you're trying to get a guy with some playing experience, there's not a lot of those guys out there that are willing to just come be a backup here unless they've been a backup somewhere else. So that'll be interesting to see what they do because, as much as you like some of the other guys, I do think, I mean, you would like to have 5 scholarship quarterbacks. They have 3 right now, and one was a walk-on that you're putting on scholarship that's now your number 2, so to speak. So I think they definitely got to add 1 and maybe 2, and we'll see how quickly that happens and what quality of player they can get.
That's what you really got to get to a point where you're comfortable with your 2 being able to play. And, we were talking about this actually after we left the press conference yesterday, BJ. One of the main storylines going in to this past season was just having a quarterback stay healthy and quit this revolving door of what you're doing and who's playing when. And some of it's been injuries in the past. It seems like last year was kind of performance-based, if you will. But just to have some continuity at that position. And that is one thing that Maddox Madsen provided this team. Stayed healthy all year. He started every game. He threw almost every pass outside of a couple of blowouts. And I think you like his durability to lead this team. But, I mean, you got to go into a football season knowing you have some type of confidence in your number 2 because you're one play away from that being your new reality. And that just is what it is. But, I sympathize with Boise State's situation a little bit because you're Spencer hit it on the head and you're right. If with Maddox only being a sophomore this year, a junior to be, it's just going to be hard to hit the transfer portal and get, say, a sophomore or a freshman to come in right now because those guys are going to want to transfer and be able to play. And the competition, it's fun to make that be the headline. But, I mean, Maddox Madsen's got 2 more years of eligibility, and you're going to have to come in and absolutely wow a coaching staff in order to beat him out. And I don't know the reality of that, in all honesty, especially when you consider it's not like Boise State just has the funds to go in and, get some 5-star guy to come here. I mean, they lost out on a battle with Georgia over something like that this year, had a kid committed, for a really long time. And talked about this with Dirk the other day. They had a kid committed for months, and then right at the end, when it's go time, Georgia just decides to up the ante, and they basically, more or less buy the kid, right? And Boise State can't compete in situations like that. The unfortunate thing with that is that as the recruiting process goes along, you only take one quarterback in a recruiting cycle. And I mean, anything more than that is kind of an anomaly, right? Or there's something to it. And so you got him secured, and you're basically telling all the other high school QBs, now we got our guy. And then all of a sudden signing day comes and the guy goes somewhere else, and you're like, oh man, we kind of, for the most part, turn the rest of the guys loose that we were recruiting because we had our guy. And so it is, yeah, it's just it's a tricky situation. It does feel like they got to do something there, BJ, because as you mentioned, 3 scholarship dudes, and one of them is a guy that's a former walk-on you just placed on scholarship.
Yep. No doubt about it. It'll be interesting to see there. They got to find somebody, and whether they can get them in time for spring ball or summer. I guess you don't need it quite as much in the spring, but you obviously need somebody because one play away from something happening here.
I mean, I know you're going. I see where you're going with that, but I almost, I mean, I don't disagree a lot on the show, but I kind of disagree. I do think they need somebody by spring. Like that quarterback position, if you're going to compete to be a guy that helps this team, it's going to be harder. It's going to be hard to do that if you're waiting around until fall camp to enroll. So
yeah, you just got school starting Monday, and there's just not a lot of time to get somebody in here.
No, man, you're right. Like I hear you. I do think there should be a little bit of a level of urgency to figure that out, though, because if the longer you wait, the more and more difficult it becomes for somebody to actually really help contribute next fall.
All right, a couple other news and notes from Spencer, but I do want to thank a couple sponsors real quick. Western Collective, studio sponsor, the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the Orange Chaos Seltzer, available at Extra Mile Arena, most local retailers, and of course, you can hit up their brewery in Garden City. Support the Horseshoe Collective by purchasing the Horseshoe Golden Ale. RoePaint.com, our title sponsor, ROEPaint.com, all your painting needs. Check them out, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. We've had the concrete coatings done twice. Highly recommend it. They're scheduling now for the spring. Get more information online at roepaint.com. Today's an ICCU Friday, so we're appreciative of Idaho Central Credit Union. There's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest is that mobile e-branch online banking right there in your smartphone. ICCU.com. Check them out. Get more information. You may think you're liking your banking experience. I can promise you make the switch, you'll like it even more at Idaho Central Credit Union. Matt Bauscher Real Estate, #1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley is Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate. When you buy or sell a home from Matt, you get to meet everybody in the picture there. It's just firsthand, personalized attention and service. Nothing is left missed, or no stone is left unturned. They do a tremendous job getting your best value on your purchase, or your if you're buying a home as well. No home is too big or too small for Matt and his team. Check them out. #1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley, Matt Bauscher at BauscherRealEstate.com. Ridley's Family Markets, shop Ridley's.com. They got 13 locations across the state of Idaho, Treasure Valley, Magic Valley, surrounding states. Love the CUNA location. And if you download their Skip app, you can get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line. Get more information. Find a location near you at shopridleys.com. Hey, Snake River Pool and Spa, Patio and Game. They got locations in Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. Been around since 1978. They're part of the Boise State home team. The spateam.com is the website, whether it's a spa, whether it's a pool table, a sauna. They got you covered. Get more information, thespateam.com. And Lithia Ford Boise, the all-wheel drive sale. The weather is getting icy, snowy. It's all coming. Make sure you have an all-wheel drive vehicle from Lithia Ford of Boise. And we're talking NIL game. Well, they take care of that. 6 student athletes, a volleyball, women's golf, football. They're supporting student athletes at Boise State. 4 football players drove vehicles this year from Lithia Ford of Boise. Some athletic department staff, coaches as well. So return the favor for your next car or truck purchase, and go see Jim Sturk and Company at Lithia Ford of Boise. All right, Jay, let's go Amari and McCoy next. That was a little bit of news we got. Let's hear from Spencer Danielson talking about the McCoy camper situation.
Aaron McCoy's coming back. He's locked in. He'll be back. He's the waiver that was able to come out through some of the rulings with junior college, because he was a 4th-year senior. You get that 5th year of eligibility. So Amari McCoy's coming back. He's locked in, and that's a huge addition, to our back end going forward. Cam Camper's in a different situation, because I believe this last year was his 5th year in college, and next year will be his 6th year. So we're still working through that with Cam. I talk with Cam a lot. He's working through NFL or come back, but to come back, there's still some things that we're working through with the NCAA. It's not as simple as Amarion's situation, because Amarion was a 4th year with a 5th year granted eligibility, done deal. Cam, there's still some things working through. So I know he's weighing the options and going through training for the NFL and/or waiting to see if this is something that he can truly come back for. I'm still working through that situation with Cam.
When that ruling came down with McCoy, I mean, you're thinking you're going to have to replace him. He's a all league type kind of guy. I mean, just to all of a sudden have him for another year, how big of a deal is that?
It's a huge deal. And Amara McCoy, for who he is for this team, seeing his growth as a leader on this team, seeing who he was when he first came here 2 years ago to who he is now, it's a monster deal for our team getting back. And I believe his best football is in front of him. And I'm very aware with him. And, hey, these are the couple things we need to improve and fix on to not only have your best last season in college, but also make sure you get to the NFL, which is a huge goal of his.
Well, two pieces of news there, I guess, Jay. McCoy, that's a game changer for me. We've talked about this secondary and the corner position, and I know the pass defense gets a lot of criticism, but I think McCoy is a solid Mountain West corner, a solid guy that has aspirations of playing at the next level and decides to come back, and that certainly helps the corner position to get Amari and McCoy back at the you can speak better than me on the Cam Camper situation. I'm not even sure it's technically, even if he's eligible, it doesn't sound like it may not be something he wants to consider. And I don't know if they're trying to get an NIL package together that makes it worth it for him, or some guys just want to move on at some point. And so I know his situation is different. I'm still a little confused on the NCAA eligibility part of that, but in terms of we're all trying to figure out the waiver and what that means in terms of how many years you can play and if that really matters. But I don't think it sounds like it's as simple as just if he's eligible, he's back this year. I guess your take on both those guys.
Yeah, I think that Cam's been around the game for a little while, and he was injured earlier in his career. So I think that there's some a medical red shirt that might ask to be granted or something like that. I will say I don't know how much the NCAA is fighting back on eligibility these days. I mean, anytime they get taken to court, they're losing. So if it's possible, I'm assuming it's going to happen. They just have to wait and see if it's even possible to where if it fits within any guidelines or parameters. So. I think that Cam just has a decision to make though too, whether he wants to come back if he can or move on. And sometimes BJ, life hits you, man, right? And so you gotta make decisions that that are the better, whatever is better for your future. And so I think that those are just some things that will weigh with Cam and what he does. And either way, it's big to get Amarion back, and that one was kind of cut and dry. And it's just crazy to think that, on senior day, he legit thought it's funny because during the COVID era, BJ, how many times have we seen senior honored on senior day? And you're like, okay, this is in all honesty kind of dumb because we know he's coming back, right?
Max Rice.
Well, I wasn't going to say Max.
He went through a senior day when he had another year left. Of course he was coming back.
Yeah. You know what I mean, though. I mean, I guess that is an example. In this case, though, he legit thought at that point in time, like he was done playing college football in the blue. Like
there was no option, no decision to make, no nothing. This is it.
And then all of a sudden, Vanderbilt's quarterback, who he tweeted this out afterwards, he's got some good lawyers. They won this argument, and now everybody gets a chance to benefit from this that played at the junior college ranks. And so this is I don't know how you could view this as anything other than a good thing, because you get a really experienced cornerback back for your defense next year, which only adds to the depth at that position. You kind of feel for a kid like maybe a Franklin Johnson Jr., because you go back to fall camp, I thought that was a kid that flashed at times, but they just had older guys in that room that kind of limited his snaps on the field. And so now his development, kind of might get kind of pushed off another year and things like that. But to get Amarion back, it certainly is not a bad thing for this defense. And I think it's a huge opportunity for Amarion too to really finish this year. I mean, he only had one interception, had 14 pass breakups, but there were a couple of times he was in perfect position to get a pick and just couldn't hold on to it. I mean, there were a couple of times he could have had a pick six. I know his only one he had this year, he did take to the house, but this is a fantastic opportunity for him to come back and really finish, strong and finish plays this year as a member of the Boise State football team.
All right, that wide receiver position, back to Cam Camper, Jay, brings back Latrell Caples, brings back Austin Bolt. I like what I saw from Cam Bates. Chase Penry's a guy that, hasn't been used a ton, but has made some big, kind of third down catches, or can be a guy that can make a key catch for you. Not, obviously Cam Camper would change the look of that room if they get him back. I think they need to go find another Cam Camper type, a proven guy in the transfer portal that can come in and be a key contributor / starter for you. It worked obviously very well with Camper. Chris Marshall, a lot of people had a lot of questions about him. It sounds like he is coming back, and maybe he's the wild card here. I don't know how much, no disrespect to him, you can count on him just because he wasn't able to stay healthy or do much last year. So he's kind of a freebie wild card for me. But let's hear from Spencer Danielson talking about that wide receiver room.
Receiver is a big point of need that we're working through right now, BJ, from recruiting to some guys stepping up. Obviously, Latrell Caples, we think the world of. Austin Bolt had a good season. There's a lot more meat on the bone for him. So those two for sure. Chase Penry, Ben Ford played a lot for us and need to continue to play more. So feel really good about that core. And I think Cam Bates, our true freshman, you're going to see a lot more of Cam Bates. I mean, Cam Bates, I think, could be one of the better ones we've had here. Then we brought some guys in, and as the freshmen and as we bring transfers in, we're going to see how they compete. I'm not going to speak to him. Chris Marshall, him being healthy and him being able to compete the way we need him to in spring ball. I mean, he's obviously one of the most talented receivers on our team, but he's got to be able to do it consistently. And I've had really good talks with Chris, and I'm very, very excited for his spring and him being able to do it consistently. We'll see what happens with Cam. We'll kind of walk through that process, but it is a position that we are looking at to find the best around to come in, BJ.
Chris is all in and sticking around.
He is, yep. Okay. And that's something we'll continue to walk through. Obviously, last season didn't go the way he wanted, nor we wanted it for him, and that can go a lot of different ways. But Chris has grown a ton in his time here. He's done everything we've asked him to do. Obviously, some injuries hit, some things didn't go his way, or some things that didn't go the way we envisioned last season. But like I told him, we talked a couple weeks ago before the bowl game. At that point, that's old news. That is what it is. You've been here for a year. You know what it is. Now it's how do we grow from this? How do we get your body and everything right to where we don't get injured, to where we can go be our best? Because he's got all the skill set in the world to be, one of the top receivers. He's just got to go do it consistently. And I can promise you this, Chris is very excited to, and I love that young man. I love his heart. I love him being here. We just got to be consistent daily, and he's excited to do that, and I'm excited to see his spring.
There's a JUCO wide receiver announcing today, Jay, at noon. Devin Ellison, his final three is Boise State, Washington State, and UCF. I know he's a big target, was on campus recently. So, the whole JUCO thing, I know it doesn't even bother me anymore. Some guys it's like a degrading thing. Oh, he's coming from JUCO. How good can he be? I mean, you obviously have seen that's not the case with guys all over the country. So that doesn't bother me at all. I look at who else is trying to get him. Washington State and UCF. I mean, Big 12 school, and they're obviously the kid's got some talent. Looks like a bigger wide receiver. So we'll track that. That's noon today, Devin Ellison. But what do you make of the wide receiver room? And are you counting on Chris Marshall? And what do you make? I mean, this group obviously, had a pretty solid season, but when you lose a Prince and you lose a Cam Camper, two of your bigger receivers, I obviously think that's a room that I would have a little concern with at this point going into next year.
Yeah, I think that they need to add some more pop in that room for sure. Would be surprised if the kid commits to Washington State, but we'll just kind of have to wait and see on that one. I think we had a lot of hope for that room coming into this year, and Cam Camper had a great season. Latrell, when he was healthy, played really well at that 3 touchdown game. In midway through the season. But they need that dynamic playmaker, and in all honesty, I think the world of Cam Bates too, though, man. I think he could really provide some pop for this team, and he's coming back for his second year. I mean, he was a true freshman this year, so you could really see his role almost explode in this offense, and I'm excited to see what that looks like. See if Ben Ford can get a few more opportunities this year. He had a few catches, but it was just kind of like one here, one there. Things like that. We have not seen the best of Latrell Caples yet. And I mean, I don't like saying this because I think it creates unrealistic expectations of the player and within the fan base. But in all honesty, I mean, Marshall might be the best receiver in the room. I mean, with God-given talent, he is. They just got to figure out a way to get that to play out on not only on game day, but every day at practice, and keep them healthy and keep them focused and keep them hungry, right? Like, if he truly is healthy and ready to go, I worry less about, you know, a a Cam Camper departure.
Yeah,
But
and I feel good about. And yeah,
that's just a
I guess
massive gift.
yeah, and that's my thing. I guess you can't plan for that. If he
You
proves to be the
can't.
best guy, great. But it's kind of like at running
Yep.
back, where they're going to get 5 guys. Like, just let all that figure it out. But they need at least one more, if not two. I think like guys that they would expect to contribute and play right away. I do want to get to Gaines real quick because then I want to finish on basketball. I'm already up against the clock here, Jay. You asked about Sire Gaines, whether or not he would have played in the game. Here's a quick bite on Sire Gaines. This will be the last Spencer Danielson clip here.
Running, I guess.
Yes. When we start winter workouts, Sire Gaines will hit the ground running, and I am so excited for him. Obviously, you know, breaks your heart when one of your players gets hurt and lose a season, but I also believe God never says oops, and Sire fought his tail off to get back, get healthy, and he was right on the edge of being able to be cleared to play in the Fiesta Bowl. Wasn't cleared. We were very positive that if we won that game, he'd be able to play in the Orange Bowl today. Obviously, we didn't get it done to play in that game, but he will be full go come this offseason. And Sire Gaines, it's time. And I can't wait because of how he's wired and who he is, his skill set, the nation's going to see a lot of Sire Gaines.
And I was there. We were there at the practice in Phoenix for the Fiesta Bowl. They had about 20 minutes of open practice, Jay, and he was over on the side, but he was cleated up. He had his little GPS tracker thing on, and the training staff was having him go through some serious kind of band workouts and resistance, running, and things like that. So, I mean, he had quite a lather going there on the side. And so, you could obviously tell at that point he probably wasn't going to play because he wasn't practicing with the team, but he was doing enough, like I said, in cleats, looked 100% in terms of running and all that kind of stuff that you knew he was close. And it's kind of like a pitcher in baseball, I guess, that gets back to throw a couple innings before the end of the season from an injury just so they can have a full normal offseason and feel good about things. It sounds like for Sire Gaines. And I don't want to say it was a fluky injury, Jay, but I mean, I don't necessarily think that he's a guy, we talk about some of these guys being injury prone or whether it's a soft tissue type thing or whatever. I mean, with it was just a tackle that happened, a thing that happened, and I would have full confidence in him that he can, he's past that and obviously can hopefully have a healthy season next year. But to get him healthy to start the offseason is big, and we can say whatever we want about all these other guys, Breezy and whoever they're bringing in, Malik Sherrod. But I mean, I think we all believe that Sire Gaines is going to be a massive part of this offense.
Sire Gaines he's RB1, man. Like, and there's guys that are going to push him, whether it be Breezy or Dylan Riley or Malik Sherrod. Like, there's guys that are going to push him, but Breezy's your RB1, or excuse me, but Sire's your RB1. I think that they love this kid's mentality. I think when those guys that refuse to go down, those injuries do become a little more risky because guys are going to hit you from different angles. More guys are going to hit you. That's what made what Ashton did this year even more remarkable. But excited to see what Sire can do. And he even warmed up for the Fiesta Bowl, suited up and everything. Just wasn't able to play quite yet.
And I know people are saying it was a dirty tackle, whatever, but I think it was legal technically, but it wasn't necessarily cool. A good tackle. That was kind of my point, though. It was a crazy, weird tackle and that's why you got hurt. I don't think he can be classified as a Breezy Dubar soft tissue type thing where it's the same kind of injury.
Yeah, it's kind of it was that hip drop tackle where I think it's more legal, or it's okay in college, but might get flagged in the NFL. So maybe that changes. We'll see. But I'm right there with you. That just was an unfortunate circumstance. Like, going against an FCS team, by the way, where those guys are undersized, doing whatever the hell they possibly could to get Boise State's running backs to the ground.
I remember they took a shot at Genty or somebody else too at some point in that game.
It was on Genty's final carry of the game. It was final carry of the first half. He actually had 130 yards rushing in that game, but his final carry went for -3. And it was the same player that kind of went at that shoulder pad, and Genty was able to stiff arm him off of him and stay upright for the most part, or at least avoid that hip drop tackle. And I've said this before, it is nothing against that kid. I think he's just an undersized dude trying to get 2 really good running backs to the ground. And technically, it's not an illegal move at the college ranks.
Yep. Hey, Taco Bell, TacoBellWorks.com. Check them out. TacoBellWorks.com. If you're looking for a job, they are hiring. Great opportunities, free food while you work, half the wages the next day after your shift. Check out Taco Bell, TacoBellWorks.com. Transportation compliance service. You want to get into the trucking industry? Speaking of a job, all the permits, paperwork, everything you need. Check them out online at transcomservice.com. They have half price on the Fiesta Bowl gear. If you're looking for Fiesta Bowl gear, the Blue and Orange store has it for half off your Fiesta Bowl gear at the Blue and Orange store. Jackson's, you can get a hot dog and a soda for $2 at Jackson's after they score 70 points. Hopefully yesterday you took advantage of that. You got to have the Let's Go reward app, but don't forget 25 cents from every hot dog sold goes to support the Horseshoe Collective. Check them out at Jackson's for that deal after the Broncos score 70 points 2 days later. Speaking of food, leanfeastmeridian.com. Lean Feast, 10,000 plus combinations, healthy eating options. They deliver anywhere in the Treasure Valley, and you can get 5 days in the refrigerator, 2 minutes in the microwave, and you're eating steak, shrimp, chicken, fish. Check them out, leanfeastmeridian.com, and we'll take your post-game voicemails, your pre-game voicemails, whatever you got. Speakpipe.com/BNN. They'll leave us a voicemail. We'll get to that. It's brought to you by Signature Roofing, mysignatureroofing.com. Whether it's a repair, a re-roof, an inspection, an estimate, they got you covered. Signature Roofing, mysignatureroofing.com. All right, final thing here quickly, Jay, and maybe I can keep it going because I know I don't want to keep you too long here, but basketball Saturday in Logan, big game, big opportunity for the Broncos. Here's a quick bite of Alvaro Cardenas and Leon setting the stage for this one.
I mean, obviously they're a great team, ranked top 25 in the country, amazing atmosphere, so it's going to be a tough game. They also play a zone the whole game basically, so it's definitely a different game, and we're excited for it.
I know the pit and some of these places get a lot of the hype, but I mean it seems like in terms of just noise and constant noise and the students getting on you, that's as bad or crazy as anywhere in the league, right?
Yeah, it's my favorite. Personally, I really enjoy playing there. It's a great atmosphere, and the special thing about it is so many students, like half the crowd is basically students, so it's pretty dope.
Just being able to handle those kind of circumstances and it's been a tough place to play since the dawn of men, since since they've had basketball there, and it's nothing new. It's a great atmosphere and great energy and a great team. So you got a lot of challenges that you got to be able to step up to, and you got to be a together unit. Otherwise, you have no chance.
You mentioned all the students there. They like to check players' Facebook pages and come up with signs and all that. Have they gotten you at all, or what any stories from that? Or
yeah, I mean, I remember they tried to cuss me out in Spanish, which was really funny at halftime. They started saying things in Spanish. I was laughing. I personally love it. It's one of my favorite places to play in. Like I said, I really enjoy it, and yeah, it's just fun.
How was their Spanish?
Huh?
How was their Spanish?
It was pretty good. I'm not going to say what they say. It was a little bit disrespectful, but yeah, it was pretty cool.
So they get into it as much for San Jose as they do for anybody else?
Well, especially that year where we were pretty good and we were fifth. I actually had a game-winning shot over there too, at the buzzer, and I missed it. But it was fun to see them a little bit scared. It got a little bit silent in the last few minutes, so it was pretty cool. But yeah, it's fun.
They're just a complete team, and they're playing, with great synergy and togetherness, and they play really hard, and they're scoring really easily, it seems like, and their defense has created big problems for a lot of people. So that's right there. That's a lot of challenges. There's, they're good on both ends of the floor, and they're good personnel, well coached, and great atmosphere. So that's a lot of things that you got to overcome to go get it done.
Well, Boise State, Jay, has not traditionally played well down in Logan. I know a couple years ago, Marcus Shaver Jr. hit that game-winning shot, and I think Milad Narmouche had a 20-20 game down there. But, for the most part, they had lost 20 in a row or something crazy down there in Logan, going back obviously well before Leon, and this staff was here. But loud student section, I'll be curious who they take the shots at. They had all the daddy's boy and mom, all the Leon Rice and Max Rice, maybe probably just Leon still, but I know Max, there was probably 20, 30, posters about Max Rice and things when they went down there last year. But it's a unique venue, a lot of students, and they play pretty well, and it's obviously going to be a tough game tomorrow night.
Yeah, really tough game. Utah State's played really well this year, and they're a top 25 caliber team. I unfortunately had them at 26 basically on my ballot this week, and then I saw they showed up at 25 and thought, darn, should have put them there. But they'll
I actually
certainly
saw their coach Calhoun reference that the Boise AP voter didn't have them top 25, and that was a little bit of bulletin board material this week.
You're kidding, right?
Yes.
Hey, those coaches, they dig for stuff at times. You have no idea. But hey, they'll certainly earn the right to be on my ballot next week if they get this one on Saturday. So, a perfect time for Boise State to find their stride, find some confidence. They blasted UNLV on Tuesday, and we'll see if they can take that out on the road now again at a place where it is giving them fits in the past. That's why you kind of wanted in the preseason, throw College of Idaho on the schedule now, man. Like, they'll get you ready for the zone that you're going to face against Utah State. They run one of the best zones in the country at the NAI level. So that's just me also wanting that matchup because I think it would be a whole lot of fun. But we'll see if they can get it done. They're going to have
29.9% from three-point range. That's the big thing for me going into this game tomorrow. Boise State, one of the worst three-point shooting teams in America. And here comes Utah State, which is playing a zone defense, and they're going to give Boise State some threes. Leon said you can't just fall in love, and as soon as you have an open three, just take it right away because they're going to give you some. And especially, I mean, if you're putting on the tape of this Boise State team, you're going to give them wide open threes all day. Pack the paint, try to crash the glass and win the battle in the paint. So if there was Leon keeps saying that the numbers are going to correct themselves. I said it yesterday, but if there was ever a game for Boise State to go hit 10, 11, 12 threes, they would certainly love for it to be tomorrow night.
I think you need three guys to make multiple threes on Saturday to have a chance. And does Andrew Meadow get a couple? Does Peanut come off the bench and bury a couple for you? Who's that third X factor guy? Maybe it's Alvaro. Maybe it's Tyson. Tyson's kind of due to make a couple, it feels like. But I feel like in order to go on the road and get this one, you need three guys to make multiple threes in a game.
Utah State 15-1 on the season. Their only loss was by 2 points to UC San Diego at home. And they had a stretch day where I think everybody thought, they're going to come back down to earth. They went to St. Mary's and won, went to San Diego State and came back and won, and went to Nevada and won, all in like a week span. I mean, they've certainly proven themselves. And I'll tell you what, man, doesn't matter who the coach is, doesn't matter who the players are. It's been a pretty incredible run down there in Logan.
I will tip my cap to that program because you're right. These last few years specifically, there's been a lot of change going on in Logan, and somehow they still keep coming up, at the top of the Mountain West standings or near the top. So, I'm just excited for this one because can Boise State take a step, continue this momentum, or was it just a blip on the map, versus UNLV? It seems like they're capable of a lot, but this will be the true test in Logan.
Well, driving down in the mornings, we'll have the BNN pregame show, 6 o'clock tomorrow. Abe Jackson will join me, and we'll hear a little more from Leon, from Alvaro. 6 o'clock tomorrow on the BNN pregame show, getting you set for that. I know Jay will have highlights and things on the news as well. And I know, Jay, Tyrese said the sports bar episode with Dirk was great. Give that a plug.
Tyrese. Appreciate you, dude.
Give that a plug.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just check it out. KTV Plus, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, where you can find it just about anywhere. So it's fun sitting down with Dirk. He made the media rounds this week, and my takeaway from that, BJ, overall, is this guy still cares tremendously about the program, and he's retired. I know that he still holds the title, but he's there for support when it needs to be there. But he's not going to be in the building every day. Heck, he's not going to be in the building every week. I mean, like, he's just going to be there when they absolutely need him. And he really cares about this program.
Go check that out. KTVB YouTube. You mentioned KTVB Plus, the various ways. Did you get him to come in studio? I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, he came in the studio. Yep.
Nice.
Came on down. And to my surprise, he had never been there before. I can't believe MJ back in the day didn't entice Dirk to come down to the studio. So those two guys are pretty close.
Wow. Well, that'll be Go check that out. And again, Jay, they'll be all over the basketball and football stuff the next couple of days as well. And we will. Nathan Carroll has an article, by the way, I'm putting up here shortly, previewing the game from an analytics perspective. So you can check that out if you're a paying subscriber. And you got about a week left. Don't forget, if you want to go on that private jet trip to the game in Las Vegas next month, become a yearly subscriber, and you're eligible to win a private jet for True. You can it's Jay Tust private jet actually that we're giving away here. So I will not confirm or deny that that's part of the deal. But 2 tickets to the game, a night at Circa, and a lot of great stuff. You got to be a yearly subscriber. So if you're on the fence, subscribe now. Would love to have you jump in for that. And Jay, appreciate you. Sorry we went a little bit long today. You still owed me from not doing a show on the day of the Fiesta Bowl, so we'll call it even now. But appreciate it, Jay. Have a good weekend with you and the fam. And I know we'll both be working and getting content out. But obviously a big one tomorrow night for the basketball team. And we'll have you covered, BroncoNationNews.com. Appreciate it, Jay.
Yep, sounds good, buddy.
Have a good weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Again, posting the article with Nathan Carroll here shortly. We'll head down to Logan tomorrow. If any other news, recruiting, transfer, whatever breaks, Jay will have it on his social media. We'll have you covered as well. And we'll talk to you guys later. Again, Idaho Central Credit Union, our Friday sponsor. Go check them out, ICCU.com. Pick up a couple Horseshoe Golden Ales from the Western Collective. And, of course, support Andy Rowe and our title sponsor, RowPaint.com. He's Jay Tust. My name's BJ Rains. Have a good rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you guys later. Bronco Nation News Live. Big one tomorrow night in Logan. We'll see you at 6 o'clock on the pregame show from the D. Glenn Smith Spectrum. Bronco Nation News. Talk.